with its grain, vegetables and fruit. Rome also had the advantage of straddling the Tiber River just 15 miles from the sea, where boats could still come upriver. At this point there was first a ford, then a bridge, and across it ran the main north-south road and all the trade that came with it. The bridge was so important to the Romans that it was considered sacred, and the official charged with its upkeep was sacred as well. He was called the Pontifex, and his title lives on in the title of the Roman Catholic Pope, the Pontiff. So Rome began as a market town and a farming community. This is a sign from a greengrocer's shop whose owner likely shared his neighbor's tough-minded, practical, conservative outlook. The virtues the Romans admired were all related to discipline and self-discipline. They believed in pietas, respect for established authority and tradition. They believed in fides, being true to your responsibilities. In religio, the common beliefs that bind men together, and above all, in gravitas, the sober seriousness that marks a real man. Even the word virtue means manliness. Early Roman society was also strictly patriarchal. A Middle Eastern Greek, Dionysius of Halicarnassus, explained it. The lawgiver of the Romans gave virtually full power to the father over his son, even during his whole life, whether he thought proper to imprison him, to scourge him, to put him in chains and keep him at work in the fields, or put him to death. And this even though the son already engaged in public affairs, though he were numbered among the highest magistrates, though he were celebrated for his zeal for the Commonwealth. As for women, they didn't think much of them or about them. A Roman in the 1st century BC wrote to his wife, "If, good luck to you, you bear offspring, if it is male, let it live. If it is female, expose it," which, of course, meant leaving it to die. One gets the clear impression that there wasn't much kidding around with ancient Romans, as you can see for yourself. They disliked disorder and luxury, which meant excess. The legend of how Rome was founded is a case in point. These are Romulus and Remus, twin brothers who were raised by a she-wolf. Remus refused to follow Romulus's strict orders to behave while the sacred boundaries of Rome were being traced. He jumped over them as if they didn't matter, and Romulus killed him. The moral of this story is that serious things should not be taken lightly. True virtue subordinates the person to the city, the individual to the state. On this solid base of gravitas, or true gravity, the Roman Republic was founded in the 6th century BC. The Romans were a conservative people, and so they wanted strong leaders, but not too strong. So the city's wealthy aristocrats, the patricians, who pretty much monopolized state office, elected 2 of their kind to the executive office of consul, but only for 1 year. These consuls had vast powers, but they were constrained by law and custom and by the power of the Senate, the main legislative branch. Since the consuls left office to sit as senators for the rest of their lives, it was a foolish consul who totally ignored or defied the will of the Senate. The Roman army also mirrored the values of this hard-bitten society. Every soldier provided his own equipment, which meant that he had to have a farm or some kind of property so he could have the necessary resources to buy a shield and helmet, a sword, a spear, and a pack on his back. If you didn't have all this, you didn't get into the army. So the landless poor did not fight. They were called the proletariat because their only contribution to the state was their proles, or offspring. They didn't pay taxes, and they had no say in how the city was run. Commoners in general were known as plebeians, and they could be small farmers, artisans, servants of the patrician landowners. For 2 centuries, the more prosperous among them would struggle for political and social rights with mixed success. But it was their army service that gave them their greatest bargaining power. The primary attraction of life in the army was a very important fringe benefit, the spoils of war. And the potential for these spoils was going to increase dramatically after a war in the 4th century BC with the Samnites, a people who lived in the mountains to the southeast of Rome. At the beginning of the war with the Samnites, the Roman army fought like this in the phalanx, a tight formation without much room to maneuver. But then they switched to